Welcome to the SoulBodyHorse podcast, where we dive deep into the horse-human connection. Here we believe in the power of stories and digging deeper, pushing further, and asking the oft unsaid question. I'm your host, Meredith Crawford. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Lidia Kuleshnyk. Did I say that right?
Pretty close. That's excellent.
Awesome. Lidia is the creator of the Apona healing method, and in her 25 years of professional experience working with clients with serious and chronic health conditions, she weaves in work with the horses, with coaching and Reiki and nutrition to create optimal results in the shortest time. And I'm so excited to have you on. How did you arrive at Apona Healing with these four facets?
Well, AponaHealing.com is my umbrella website where I actually bring together my 30 years of experience and knowledge and expertise in those four pathways. So many years ago, I started off in holistic healing to help clients heal chronic illnesses. And that arose out of my own journey, which I'm happy to share, healing my very difficult chronic health conditions that I had from birth. And around the same time that I was guided to do that, I also had horses coming to me in dreams. Or before that, I had horses coming to me in dreams telling me I would be shifting my path into the world of healing with humans and horses. And so then I have a horse rescue sanctuary where we give unwanted horses forever homes in beautiful Rideau Lakes in Eastern Ontario, Canada, called Apona Healing Ranch. And the website for that is aponahealingranch.com. And we do Equine-Assisted Therapy with the horses standing in stillness and silence to help us activate what it is we need for our own personal growth and self-reflection. And we have a whole process around that. And then we also, at my farm, a sanctuary farm and retreat center, we also host retreats with or without horses. And the retreats without horses are part of my signature coaching program, Hidden Buddha, The Journey of Self-Discovery, where we look at our core beliefs, our values, and how to come into alignment with our soul mission. And then I have the third pathway, which is my Apona healing method to help clients resolve their chronic illnesses. And that is with Reiki, energy healing, and macrobiotic healing foods done in a very in-depth way to help create the deepest transformation in the body, mind, and spirit. And then holistic coaching is part of that. And it's part of everything that I just described. And that has evolved into my high performance wellness coaching, where I support clients in helping manage their energy and stress, avoid burnout, and really master their inner power. So we work with mindset, and we work with 12 ancient universal principles that help guide you in a flow state. So you get out of your head, so you get out of your own way. And really live your own life of passion and purpose.
That's great. So you have both the rescue sanctuary and you do equine-assisted healing. Have you seen with the horses that you use, are there specific backgrounds that have really lended themselves well to that equine-assisted healing? Or how does working with a rescued horse impact the human's own healing?
Well, all the horses that come to the ranch come to me through dreams. And I've had horses, animals, spirits come to me in dreams since I was 10, when I took a stand for myself and decided I wasn't going to decline and live in chronic pain the rest of my life. So I really trust the messages that come in through my dreams, through the spiritual guidance of the horses who are meant to join us here. Of course, we would like to give every unwanted horse a home. And we're doing our best to support horses in a variety of ways. But there's no particular, type of horse or breed or temperament. It's whoever is spiritually guided to come here. And yes, they may have trauma. They may have physical conditions that need support. And it's my role and responsibility as their steward to help them heal And then through that transformative process of the horse healing, then they can enter into their own greatness as the pillars of light that they are to help heal humans. So it's really a very beautiful natural progression of the horses in their own healing, then being able to radiate their light. And then they really, like any person who goes through difficult experiences, you are greater and wiser for it, as you heal and grow and evolve. And so all of the horses here have a certain essence, or they might say horse medicine. And then clients can decide which type of energy of the horse or which gift of the horse that they'd like to work with.
Very cool. So I'm really fascinated. So these horses, you see them first in your dreams, and then how do they show up in your life?
Well, in a variety of ways. I'll give one example. In January, one of my ascended horses came to me in 2 dreams and introduced me to a horse, and we had this beautiful reunion. It was so happy, and these dreams are more real than real life. There is not something that you can really ignore. They're very powerful. Fall asleep. I have no idea what I'm going to dream about or where I'm going to travel, do soul travel. But that's all I knew, was that another horse was coming. So Woody had said, we're going to be welcoming another member of our family of light. And then it could take months, or I may get a call, or I may be guided to somewhere to go. My very first rescue horse, I was guided to go to a trail ranch where I met him. And I discussed that in my chapter, The Divinity of Horses, and the new book coming out, Evolving on Purpose, Co-Creating with the Divine, on August 30th on Amazon. And so, for example, I was guided to go to a trail ranch, and I wasn't sure why. And I met Trigger. But then in January, I had the dreams. And then I saw Facebook posts. And Facebook started sending me the same post of this horse over and over again. And then people I didn't even know very well, I think in a span of 5 or 6 days, I must have had the same post being sent to me, and nobody was stepping up for this horse. And so when I called the number, then the woman said, yeah, nobody's stepping up for the horse. And she would have been sent to Mexico to be slaughtered. And so, of course, I couldn't let that happen. Those are 2 examples of how I find the horses that are meant to come here.
Wow. Tell us a little bit more about this book that you have coming out.
Well, sure. It's a multi-author book with over 20 incredible authors who share their personal stories of evolving on purpose and how they co-create with the divine. So it's very inspirational and motivational. And then they also share tools of how they've done that. And so, as I mentioned, my chapter is the only chapter about horses. And but I have literally been evolving with horses and co-creating with the divinity of horses. So I felt it was an appropriate fit. I asked the publisher if she would mind if I did a chapter on horses, and she, oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so it's a wonderful collaboration book. And in the chapter, as I mentioned, I talk about my spiritual relationship with horses and how they've guided me my entire life. And I share the story of how Trigger came to me in dreams after I met him at the trail ranch. But I had a dream, 2 or 3 dreams, many years before, when I was in a deep healing, I call my cocoon of healing, where I was told I was a sister of horses. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking about horses. I loved horses, but I just wanted to survive. I was very ill, and I was trying to bring myself back to life. So I just wrote the dream down and carried on with life. So I share the story of how I went to the trail ranch and then met this horse on a trail ride, and he started coming to me in dreams. And I didn't know at the time that after the summer trail season, they were going to send him to slaughter. And I wasn't even familiar with horse slaughter. I just didn't even know it really existed. So my journey, bringing Trigger out of that situation and to our family farm, was very transformative for me. And in my chapter, I have developed 7 steps for anybody who would like to connect with their intuition and co-create with the divine. So if you'd like, I could share those 7 steps.
Please.
Well, what I'll first do is share the paragraph that I wrote that activated those 7 steps. So the paragraph is talking about how I aligned myself to take action to help trigger, even though I didn't really know what was happening. I didn't really understand the seriousness of what was going on, but I knew I had to follow the spiritual messages. I had listened to the messages. I honored the urgency of my spirit and took aligned actions. I felt the fullness of my emotions. I centered in my power. I embraced faith and inner knowing. And in so doing, I was guided to the high spiritual being who would heal me as much as I would heal him. And that's the beautiful thing about a really strong spiritual connection or co-creating with the divine, is that it's always like a win-win. As we honor our own spirit and as we honor the spirit of others, then all good things come of that. And so the 7 steps are: 1, to listen to the messages. So we're always being given messages because we're already highly evolved spiritual beings. And we're in the middle of this tremendous paradigm shift on the planet where we're releasing the old paradigm that intellectual control and dominance was put on a pedestal above everything else. And now we're beginning to honor all aspects of ourselves, including our spiritual aspect. And so we're constantly being given messages, and we each connect with that in a different way. It could be, a bird that you see regularly that means something. Could be messages that you see in the media. It's the same thing coming over and over, like some sort of symbolism, for example. Or maybe just your own thoughts that you need to explore that feel very powerful. But we're always being guided. So we're never alone, and we always have support. The second step is to honor and value the importance of your spirit or of these messages. So as I just mentioned, we haven't been really taught to cultivate our spiritual connection en masse, right? And so now is the time that we're starting to awaken to that, and how powerful and beautiful it really is, and that it already exists within us. It's just a matter of activating it. So then when we value something, we make it a priority, and then we pay attention. So we listen, and then we honor and value it and start to create that connection with ourselves. And then the third step is to feel the emotions. Feel the emotions that arise within us when we listen to those messages and when we honor and value them. And the emotion is part of that connection to our deeper aspect of who we are and our spirit and our soul. And then the fourth step is to bring that all together and get centered in your power, and connect with the clarity of what you're feeling. So we may not always know the clarity of what's going on. Like when I was on my journey to help trigger, I didn't really understand why I was being called to the ranch constantly and why his call was so desperate. But I followed it and did my best to take simple actions to go visit him, and then realized I had to bring him home and that sort of thing. So the path becomes more clear as we get centered and connected. And I like to say, and conscious. So being centered in our core energy, connected to our essence or power, and becoming conscious are the 3 fundamental pillars of any healing, transformation, and growth. And then the 5th step is to really embrace your faith and your inner knowing that, yes, this is real. This is real, and it's important, and it's guiding me for my highest and best path, and only good outcomes will arise. And then the 6th step is to take those aligned actions. So again, we may not know the big actions sometimes, but we can take simple steps going in that direction. And then we start to feel more of that connection to what we're doing. And then we get feedback, from our experiences and affirmation. And then the seventh step is to just trust the whole journey, that we're all here on the planet to have a meaningful existence and to have our highest quality life in any circumstance. And so trust that we're being guided for the higher good. And the beautiful thing about being guided from a place of spirit is that we create miracles unbeknownst to us in doing so. So in me helping trigger and in the journey of us activating each other, that creates like an energetic template or frequency that others somewhere else in the world can benefit from. Just like I stepped into a frequency that somebody before me created so that I could help trigger. So in the whole process of our own relationship with our intuition and our inner knowing and co-creating with the divine, we're really creating miracles on the earth for everyone, not just ourselves.
Wow. Is Trigger still part of your herd today?
No, Trigger ascended a long time ago. He is my first equine member, family of light member. That was well over 20 years ago. And he was 36.
Wow.
And he was blind and crippled with arthritis and dying of organ failure from all the anti-inflammatory drugs that they overdose those horses on to keep them going. And he had hoof issues. He had no regard for that. Like, he wanted to live. And I didn't know all of that. I didn't know the seriousness until I brought him home. I mean, he was old and frail and they were still using him for riding. But until the vet came and I was just back in the world, of horses. And I thought, how am I ever going to help him? And I did. And I used my Reiki. I used the macrobiotic healing foods, and I brought in support from professionals that were on the same wavelength, as me to try to heal him. And within a year, he had healed of everything. Yeah, he only had cataracts on his eyes, and those dissolved. Different levels of cataracts, obviously, are easier or difficult to deal with. And then his organs healed, and his arthritis was tremendously improved, and his hooves were corrected, and he ran around like a young stallion until he was 44. And then he just ascended one day. He just decided to leave. But I had been told he was about 10 years older because, as we know, kill buyers often give a younger age on the bill of sale. And so he could have well been into his 50s.
Wow. So unpack this a little bit for us. Like, how did you use the Reiki to help trigger? Like, what were the changes you were seeing using the Reiki?
Yes, well, we just stand in stillness, and you can do long distance Reiki as well. So I would stand with him and place my hands over his eyes and just gently touch his body. And then, because I was an experienced Reiki practitioner, just channel the energy through my body. But anybody can channel energy because we're already channeling energy, right? Because we're alive. The blade of grass is channeling energy, right? Because it's alive. Energy is moving through us. So it's a channeling. And so he started to feel relief. And sometimes when we're doing deeper healing, just like with humans, you can have a healing reaction. So there may be temporary times of more discomfort in the healing process. But as long as we're clear and understand that process that we're in, then we keep going and we get through that. So Trigger very much wanted to heal. And when he decided to leave, he left. So I call him the great master, and he's the great steward, and he is now my logo. He's my logo for AponaHealing.com. And when I started my holistic health practice for humans, I was trying to think of a logo, and then Trigger said, "Well, it's me. It's your." So I just adopted that logo recently from my old logo from 25 years ago. But yeah, so animals, humans, we all follow the same principles of healing. It's in macrobiotics, it's called the principles and the order of the infinite universe. And I've actually adapted some of those principles for modern consumption And I work with clients with them. For example, the first universal principle is everything is energy. This is not mine. I mean, this is a universal principle. And then the second, energy never lies. You can't fool Mother Nature. So when you're with your horse, I always say our horses know us better than we know ourselves. And that's what happened to me when the horses came to me in dreams in my cocoon of healing in my late 20s. They recognized me, before I recognized myself, and helped me shift a path from more than one career that I loved. I was an international environmental policy analyst and had specialized in climate change. And also I had a degree in psychology and mental health therapist. And I was told to completely shift that. And then the third principle is everything that has a front has a back. The bigger the front, the bigger the back. So it's not as complicated, as we make things out to be in life, whether it's healing or a life path, because we're all governed by the same universal principles. And when we can just kind of get out of our head sometimes and get into that flow, then really phenomenal things can unfold.